Morning, Jettie Rockers. I'm Mike D, and welcome to Jettie Rocks Fishing. Well, today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people get confused about, and there's a lot of controversy about which is which and where it originated from. We're going to talk about the differences between the Carolina rig and the Fishfinder rig. And we're also going to talk about the versatility of the Fishfinder rig. The Carolina rig and the Fishfinder rig fundamentally are basically the same design. The main differences between the two are the Carolina rig was designed specifically for bass fishing, and normally it has an artificial bait or a soft plastic bait on the other end of it, and you're moving it constantly, versus the Fishfinder rig, where generally it sits in one spot and you have a live bait or a dead bait attached to it. So real quick, I'm going to show you a Carolina rig, and I'm also going to show you the Fishfinder rig. Alright guys, on this side we have the Carolina rig. Basically it's your main line to a weight, to a swivel. Sometimes there's a bead in there. You have your length of lead or whatever that you need, and you have a soft plastic with a worm hook. And generally they like to use a lizard with the Carolina rig, but I've heard you can use almost anything. I'm actually not a bass fisherman, so I don't know a whole lot of the different styles of setting up the Carolina rig. And over here we have the Fishfinder rig, which is basically the same thing. We have the weight, we have the main line to a weight, to a swivel, you have your leader, and then you have a hook. And with this rig, you can use it so many different ways. You can use it in the surf, you can use it offshore bottom fishing, in the river, in freshwater fishing for catfish. There's so many different applications for this rig. This rig generally is designed for bass. You know, with a worm, sometimes they use a lizard and different soft plastics, but this is generally a freshwater and a lake or river system fishing for bass. And over here, this is my favorite rig. I use this pretty much every day in every way that I fish. If I'm fishing for sheephead, this is actually my sheephead rig right here. This is how I set up for the sheephead. If I'm offshore, I just use a longer leader, a bigger weight, heavier swivel, bigger hook, using live bait or dead bait. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this rig. It's a beautiful day out here, isn't it? It's rain, cold weather, it's windy. That's why I'm not out fishing today. But anyway, the basic difference between a Fishfinder rig and a Carolina rig is the use of the soft plastic. The Carolina rig has the soft plastic on it, and you're moving it pretty much all the time, and it's generally used in fresh water. The Fishfinder rig, generally when you cast it out, you let it sit there, you have a dead bait or a live bait on it, and it can generally be used anywhere. I mean, it's a super versatile rig. It's probably the most popular rig used out there, especially in saltwater. But those are the main differences between the two. Now, I'm not sure where along the line that the two rigs got mixed up with each other. Maybe since the onset of YouTube, you know, one person called it this, and so on and so on and so on. But they are actually different. And when someone refers to me, oh, I was using a Carolina rig, automatically I'm thinking they were freshwater fishing using a soft plastic and catching bass. Someone says to me, oh, I had it set up with a Fishfinder rig, I know exactly what they're talking about. I know exactly what they were doing with it. And as far as the versatility for the Fishfinder rig, this is probably the most common rig everybody uses. I mean, there's so many different variations of it, so many different ways you can use this. It's almost endless. I mean, this one particularly right here, I usually have rigged with a sand flea or a fiddler crab, and this is my standard sheephead rig. It's a short leader, whatever size weight I need, to a 1/0 octopus style hook. Now, if you're fishing offshore, That's about the only rig that I use offshore. Once in a while I'll use a knocker rig, you know, certain applications if I want to let out a lot of line or whatever in fast current situations. But normally, I'm using a standard Fishfinder rig offshore. If I'm fishing in the river for whiting or weak fish or redfish, when I fish with a big redfish with a big blue crabs, I'm always using the Fishfinder rig. I also use the Fishfinder rig in the freshwater when I'm fishing for catfish, and I'm usually using chicken livers or dead shrimp, and it works great. It works awesome in that application. Wish I could tell you that I've used the Carolina rig with the soft plastics and I've caught bass with it, but I'm not really a bass fisherman. I very seldom ever go bass fishing. I'm going to start trying to do that a little bit because I want to kind of have another option when I have bad weather and I can't go out in the river or can't go offshore. So I can at least go do something and catch something and have a day instead of sitting at home all day. Now I'm going to put some links in the bottom of the description of this video on some cool articles about the Carolina rig, you know, its origins, what it's used for, how they came up with it, and stuff like that. I'm going to put a link so you guys can read that so you can see the difference on that side. And also I'm going to put a link, an article about the Fishfinder rig. And you can see how that was designed, why it was designed that way, which actually it was designed to fish for fluke up north. That's where this rig originally came from. So I'm going to put some links in the bottom of this video, so go check those out. There'll be cool, interesting articles for y'all to read. Well, you guys, I'm curious to hear y'all's version or your all's view on this topic. If you call it a Carolina rig, if you call it a Fishfinder rig. Leave your comments down below. Let's have a discussion about it because I'd like to see who calls what, and do you use it? Do you use the Carolina rig? Are you a bass fisherman? Or do you use the Fishfinder rig in the salt water? Let me know, guys. Alright guys, well I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Just my little take on the two different rigs and the differences between the both. And some of the versatility that there is with the Fishfinder rig, which is personally the rig I use the most. I love that rig. I've caught a lot of fish with it. I've used it in the surf, freshwater, saltwater, offshore. It's an excellent rig. I don't have any experience with the Carolina rig because I don't do much freshwater fishing for bass and stuff like that. Well, I hope this information in this video was helpful to some of y'all and it kind of clears up the differences between the two rigs. One is a freshwater rig basically for bass, and the other is a more versatile saltwater, freshwater type rig. But so there you have it. That's my take on those two, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and it was informative. And for each and every one of y'all that subscribe to this channel, thank you guys very much. I appreciate y'all. You guys are awesome. Well guys, I get to see you again soon here on the water, which I don't know when that's going to be with all these fronts coming through. And I've gone try to go 4 or 5 times and I just couldn't catch anything because everything's all messed up with the high-low temperatures and the wind and the current. It's just been a mess. Well, hopefully I'll get out there soon and actually get to catch something. Tight lines, y'all. Hey, Jettie Rockers, thank you very much for watching this video. I'd like to invite you all to go follow me on my Facebook page at Jettie Rocks Fishing and also my Instagram page. I also have a JRF apparel page which will send you a link to my Teespring page where I have some cool shirts and some mugs. I appreciate you guys very much. Well, check out the description in the bottom of this video. I'll have the links. Tight lines, Jettie Rockers.